The report How to Fix the Euro is a new project that the Elcano Institute has published together with Chatham House, in which we try to identify if the euro crisis is over or not, and after concluding it's not over yet, we go into proposing a number of elements that will make the Eurozone more sustainable in the future. So getting into this first issue about where we are in the Eurozone crisis, we do an analysis of the different phases of the crisis, and we emphasize that there was an important problem of misdiagnosis of the euro crisis in the beginning, followed by a problem of putting too much emphasis on fiscal problems where the real problems lie in the banking sector. It's only after this is recognized in 2012 that the Eurozone starts taking more active and ambitious measures to solve the crisis, and this includes both the banking union but also the role of the European Central Bank, especially with the OMT program. And here we make the proposal that the ECB has become a political actor which lacks the necessary legitimacy to perform some of the functions it is performing, by which it is trying to push elected governments to do some reforms and also to strengthen European governance and European integration by establishing sort of a quid pro quo by which it intervenes to save the markets and stabilize the markets in moments of panic in exchange for some important advances like the fiscal compact or the banking union. We have analyzed the evolution of the Eurozone crisis, and we've seen that with the important measures that have been put in place to reform the Eurozone, that includes the six-pack, the two-pack, the creation of the bailout fund, the ESM, and also the fiscal compact and the new role of the ECB, all these together is probably not enough to face a future systemic financial crisis in the Eurozone. So probably what we have in place, and the banking union is an important step here and is under construction, is probably enough to muddle through and to continue with a euro that survives, but it's probably not enough to create a real sustainable monetary union that requires, in our view, more definitive steps towards both fiscal union and economic union to incorporate to the banking union. And of course, this brings some political issues to the table, because the proposals we make in terms of a common budget, a fiscal capacity, a more active role by the ECB as a lender of last resort, capable of fighting deflation, for instance, more ambitious programs to transfer funds from depressed regions to regions in growth to make the monetary union more sustainable in the long run, policies to incentivize structural reforms so that the competitiveness of the different countries is not misaligned, etc. This requires a pooling of sovereignty from the national capitals to the European level, to Brussels. That requires some sort of political union, because ultimately the experience of history tells us that all the experiments in monetary integration that have succeeded have done it if they have been able to create some sort of political union. If you're not willing or able to do that, monetary unions tend to collapse, and we've seen that in the last 2 centuries. So the European monetary integration process requires to be a currency with some sort of a state behind it. Today we don't have that, and it's an important requirement. And in the report we propose a number of initiatives, like the creation of a European Economics and Finance Minister, who would be also the head of the Eurogroup, to perform that function of coordinating the fiscal stance of the Eurozone with structural policies, and also to have a dialogue with the ECB. We also make proposals in other areas to increase the legitimacy of this union, which, as we've seen in the European elections recently, is under several criticisms. We think that these steps are absolutely necessary to make sure that in 20 years the Eurozone will be around, but we also point out the main difficulties in getting to these reforms, including the tensions between creditor and debtor countries, the role of Germany, also the role of France in this crisis, and increasing Euroscepticism of public opinions with the process.